In AD 2025, war was beginning. Alex Gillen versus Tim Murdoch. It was the great battle amongst old friends. We saw a rivalry in the Italian hills last time around, but this time we head back to our usual format. Short qualifying followed by a 100% race in the beautiful Austrian hills. My name's Tom Knight, and alongside me, Tom Wilkinson, to help call all of the action. Tom Wilkinson, well, Tom, how are you doing?
Delighted that Tom Squared is back on our screens, firstly. Looking forward to this. Got a nice little wild card to play with as well. Going back to the original or the standard format, short qualifying, 100% race. A little bit more of a strategic element involved. And after the fireworks of last week, which I have to say, watching from afar as I was incredibly funny, we could be in for another barnstormer.
I think we certainly will be. It's going to be incredible. 71 laps of Austria. And of course, that wild card really coming in to shake things up, let's put it that way, to be rather blunt about it. I'm really looking forward to today. As you said earlier, the 5th time that we've raced here in Austria in the F1 Creator Series. Some drivers taking their first steps in the F1 Creator Series here tonight. So lots to look forward to. But on the plus side, it's not just us two in the box here this afternoon. We're joined by a very special guest indeed. We've got Clipper Corner over with Carl Pernak. I've already pronounced your name completely incorrectly.
Go again.
Go again. Carl, remind us how to say your name.
Carl Peranic, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
Carl is back like he never left, ladies and gentlemen.
Certainly is indeed. Clipper Corner on hand to give us all the behind-the-scenes information. Let us know what we might have missed over here on the main broadcast. And of course, bring some key insight to these shows. Both of you, I just want to pose a question to you before we get started. Obviously, we're looking ahead to today's race. I think before we do that, we've got to look at the history. We've got to look at what's come before us. Monza and Imola, two historic tracks in Formula 1, and we had some historic races there this time around. GB getting his second win out in Monza, Formula Crim getting his first win out in Imola as well. There's been some fantastic results, and of course, not to mention the Gillen versus Daly dispute that is going on in the minds of everyone on social media at the moment. How are you finding the season so far?
It's a lot more competitive than I thought it was going to be. Last season, a cakewalk is probably a little bit harsh, but Tim Murdoch did run away with it. Started really strong. He was very, very consistent. I think he only finished off the podium once, if I believe, which is what led him to that championship win by, I think, 40 or 50 points. We're seeing a lot more variables come into play. Ben, I don't think has been the fastest driver so far, but he's leading the championship, of course. Formula Cream has been very competitive. In the first week back in Kota, didn't have the rub of the green. Last time out, he did in the second race. Obviously, got taken out on the last lap into T1 at Monza. Alex Gillen's probably been the fastest driver over the course of the 3 races, but he's also got himself involved in a couple of skirmishes, as people watching may have noticed a week ago. And then we haven't seen too much from GB. He missed the first week, picked up a win then in Monza. Razin's looking very quick. Other people in there as well. Lolinova's got a couple of podiums. Could be in for the most competitive season that we've ever had in Creator Series. I think the standings after just 3 races probably say that as well.
Certainly. Carl, what about yourself? How are you feeling on the races that we've seen so far?
Well, I concur with what the Wilkinson sword said, really. I think, honestly, like Tom says, there's been a lot of variables, and it's not been as clear-cut as we might have seen last season. Of course, Tim Murdoch started out with really a colossal champion's drive in the US of A in the end to come back through the field to get the win. But we have seen that atmosphere of unpredictability, and that's what we love about this series. It has come back, and it will rear its head, I'm sure, once again today. Given 0-0 wings round Austria, I mean, that adds a new element in itself, because DRS, therefore, might not be as effective. They've all got that same variable. They are all cutting through the air, slicing through it, an absolute rate of knots. It's going to be an enthralling encounter. I have no doubt about that today.
I think you're absolutely right. The thing that I think a lot of our drivers will have to look out for is that deadly second sector, maybe even third as well, as we round turns 9 and turns 10. They're really tight, really fast, and without the downforce provided by the front and rear wings, I think we'll see a few cars potentially, I'm saying potentially here to cover my own backside, flying off in towards the barriers. Carl, we'll let you hop off and get some preparations done for Clipper Corner. I'm sure, by no doubt, we'll see you in only a few minutes when qualifying does get underway.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoy the race, everyone.
Well, let's get back to action. Let's have a look at our drivers' standing, shall we, Tom? Let's see where everyone's been, where they're going, and look at the foresight for this championship. And at the moment, it's all looking, well, a little bit down under. Tim Murdoch leads the championship with 52 points to his name. Only 1 point behind, though, is Formula Karim.
Yes, the reigning F2 champion, Formula Karim the Dream, looking very, very impressive so far. Alex Gillen currently not driving for a team. He is at the RB. I didn't even mention Meraki in the intro. Obviously, former champion of season number 4. He's going to be right up there as well in his new overalls at Red Bull. That guy, Vince and Nogueira, and I put Lolanoba in this category as well, are probably the dark horses, potentially even Riccio 3 as well, because he had a very, very solid first race of the season in Kota a couple of weeks ago. It's incredibly, incredibly close. And Ben on new equipment as well. We'll have to wait and see how he gels with that, especially considering that this wildcard, it is a little bit different. We traditionally think of Austria as one of the lower downforce tracks, but I don't think on the game you necessarily run those really low wings because, like you said earlier, you've got to try and get through that second sector and the final sector as well, because you've got those final 2 corners that you really have to be quite committed to get through. So it will be a bit of a foreign experience for a couple of drivers, and being on a different rig and a different setup might just add to that a little bit as well.
So we did do some research back when I believe the wildcards were being decided, and we looked at the setup that an average motorsport enjoyer would run around Austria. Now, we're not looking at esports setups, we're not looking at kind of the bottom end. We want somewhere in the middle, somewhere that we feel the series, or that they felt the series, kind of sat. And we're looking about 30-20 wings on average for Austria. Kind of middle of the ballpark if you're new to the F1 24 game. You can set them between 0 and 50, so 2030 is pretty much smack dab in the middle. So I think it is going to be a real mix for some drivers to get used to the new conditions that they'll find themselves under. And as you said, new hardware for a few of our drivers as well. I believe Timo Marduk rocking the Thrustmaster wheel this evening.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. He said that he's not expecting too much performance, especially early on. We'll have to wait and see, because he's played down his chances a lot of times in the past, and somehow he always finds a way of making it through, picking up a very decent result, usually finishing on the podium as well. And his Silver Arrows team, as you can see there, leading the Constructors' Championship as well, but it is very tight. The top 4, you can see there, covered by just 9 points. Alex Gill and Safso in the Visa Cash App RB team have already stated their intention that they want to go for the Constructors.
They certainly have done indeed. And Safso and Alex Gillen, what looks like on paper as a team that shouldn't bond well together, has worked really well in the opening races. They worked brilliantly in Imola, almost sharing DRS. Alex Gillen played blocker for a while for Safso. I mean, Safso would have won the race if it wasn't for the penalties that were applied to that VCARB at the end of the Grand Prix. Obviously, track limits becoming an important factor, which I think again will see its rear its ugly head this afternoon. But Safso's starting to get back into form. I was speaking to him after the race. He was saying it's kind of the one race he probably had a chance of winning, but I've seen more pace in Safso recently than we have in probably the last 8 seasons gone by.
100%. I think we've seen it in the past that Imola is technically or typically a very strong track for Safso. Obviously, he started towards the front anyway because we had the reverse grid, but managed to convert. That was pretty similar on pace with Formula Cream, who ended up winning it courtesy of the penalty. But it is a very, very... I think it might be the first time as well that we've got 2 former champions making up a driver lineup. Season 1 champ Safso, Season 2 champ Alex Gillen.
I believe you are potentially right in that, if memory serves me correctly. But
good little stat there, everybody.
Yeah, great little stat. Our little stat man Tom Wilkinson on hand whenever you need him over the course of this broadcast. But I was gonna
they're a week.
I was gonna bring maybe a homage to, if we remember back to, I'm gonna make homage to real life racing here. 2016 Silver Arrows. Are we going to see something between Sanderson and Daly this afternoon? I mean, if anyone's looked at Adam Sanderson's title this afternoon, that's quite literally what he's called. I think it's Hamilton versus Rosberg, Silver Arrows. So maybe Adam Sanderson's out there for the win for himself today.
Yeah, we're asking for a lot of variables to go right there, and I think more have to go in favour of Adam Sanderson. Not to be cruel to Devon Butler, the legend himself, but if he does find himself going on to the last lap, battling for a win with his teammate, miles clear of everybody else, and then they come to blows, I'll be questioning the legitimacy of the series. I have to be honest.
It will be interesting. Well, folks, I can let you know it is dry over in Austria at the moment. Everybody is sat waiting to go on their initial outlaps, and I'm sure everyone will be eager to get that extra bonus point for Inter's pole. And of course, the first driver out looks to be F1 Alex, getting a keen debut last time. Of course, first points out last time around. Let's see if he's wanting to go double or nothing.
Yeah, his debut didn't necessarily go brilliantly. His full-time debut in COTA a couple of weeks ago ended up retiring, slamming it into the pit wall to bring out a late safety car, one of the many late safety cars that we've got. And he hasn't headed out on the intermediate tyres, so wanting to get a decent lap in early on. We have got a couple of people jumping in, though, a couple of reservists coming in. Hoodie Pete, the first one, or Hoodie Pedro, as you can see in the Red Bull. Super Noodle Bagel making his debut in the Creator Series, and Gwatz returns as well, driving alongside Razin for Alpine.
Certainly do. Lots of chopping and changing here in the F1 Creator Series. Lots of options for routes and tyres. Of course, the lap's so quick here in Austria. I think there will be the opportunity potentially to go for 2 Inters laps. It'll be very crucial that we keep an eye on who is attempting it. And I think it's going to be a real difference of, are they confident enough in their own abilities on the softs?
Yeah, remember that the soft tyres, since we don't have the hard tyres available, they are like gold dust. You've got to treat them very, very carefully. We've seen the best and the worst of the soft tyres in this season so far. We saw how terrible they can be at COTA, but then sometimes we've seen them be pretty decent as well. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you want to use up those soft tyres, all of those soft tyres in qualifying, you leave yourself a little bit exposed to a late race safety car, but at the end of the day, they're not the best of race tyre.
Not indeed. Safso already invalidating his first run on the intermediate tyres at turn number 1, which is going to be, I think, a sticking point for a considerable number of our drivers. Lolly Noba, the next driver behind himself, obviously purple in the first sector. F1 Alex, driver up in P1 at the moment, invalidating his first run as well. And I think the 0-0 rings really catching drivers out as an almighty tow given to Lolly Noba by, I believe, the V-Carb of Safso.
Yeah, lovely bit of teamwork there, despite the fact that they're wearing different overalls. You mentioned it earlier, we're going to see a lot of track limits warnings. I think turn 1 is going to be particularly treacherous. It's not the easiest of corners to take in the dry, so less so when you're on the dry track with those intermediate tyres on, and when you've got 0-0 wings bolted to your car.
It's going to be a challenge for all of our drivers. Lolly Noba will set the benchmark time as he comes around turn number 9, turn number 10, and this is all important that they don't invalidate right up towards the white line on the exit of that corner. DRS will open and across the line for a 107.385, setting the benchmark for all of our drivers. Formula Karim was going fastest in the first sector, now overtaken by GB68 after an invalidated attempt by the McLaren driver. F1 Alex is starting to find some pace as well on the soft tyre purple in the first sector for Team Sauber.
Yeah, should be going fastest, being the only driver out on the red strap soft compound tyres. I think he'd be a little bit concerned if he was slower than some of the Inters runners, even though the likes of Formula Kareem, Tiamat Marduk and GB are the fastest drivers on the field. Very close together coming through the final couple of corners. The Mercedes of Ben and the McLaren of Formula Kareem. That guy Vince takes intermediate pole away. What can Ben do? He goes just under a tenth quicker than Vince, and Formula Kareem was potentially invalidated on that one somewhere in the final sector.
Yep, I think he has. Not what he liked to see. F1 Alex still improving as he comes up towards the line just behind this man. GB getting his second ever win last time out. He now makes it provisional intermediates pole with just under 2 minutes to go.
And he's comfortably clear as well. That is comfortably over 0.6 of a second between the Aston Martin and the Silver Arrow. So GB putting a marker down early on, even if it is on the green stripe tyres. Super Noodle Bager, first ever lap in Creator Series for the Haas driver. It is unfortunately the slowest lap on a 108.5.
Not what they want to see. More attempts to come. Of course, new tyres will come into play for our drivers. These are only the intermediate runs. They aren't going to be counted too seriously. Adam Sanderson getting very lucky as he comes up towards the line, albeit not going to be anywhere now close to his teammate up in P3. P8 at the moment is where he stands, just pipped out by Nogueira, who comes across in P6 as well. We've got 1 minute and 15 seconds left of the intermediate pole challenge. Let's put it that way. And at the moment, F1 Alex is leading it. GB is leading it with a 106.240.
Yeah, and it's still by an absolute mile. Nick Fly's leaving the session in the pits. Maraki, usually the king of the intermediate pole. Can he snatch it away from the green machine of GB? Over the line we go. And he, like Tiamat Marduk, is over 0.6 down. I don't know what GB's been having for breakfast on these Inters, but he's looking absolutely rapid.
Certainly is indeed. He missed out last week in Monza, of course, missing out, I think, by about 3 or 4 seconds in the end, up towards the line. Formula Kai on the intermediates. Alex Gillen can't go quicker as well as he follows the kick Sauber through. I think only about half a second off of what GB has set. And at the moment, there'll be a lot of questions over that Aston Martin's regulations, as he's over half a second quicker than anybody else on the intermediate tyres. Surely some questions will be asked for the team from Silverstone.
100%. Mind the gap. 6/10, he says. It's now 5/10, but that is still a sizable margin. Alex Gillen leading the group behind, but I doubt they're going to be able to have another go. And that, you would imagine, with 8 seconds to go, is going to be all she wrote. And that'll be an extra point going on to the tally of the Aston Martin of GB. Continuing that fine form.
Certainly will be indeed. Another must have played twice. Look at that. You're so lucky you get the radio message not once but twice. If that does continue, I'll try and figure that out in the background. But yeah, as you said, GB taking intermediates pole. Good ability to be able to claim that extra point for himself. And it will be back to the drawing board. And now their main focus will be looking towards actual pole position, which is currently held by F1 Alex, who is has set purple sectors 1, 2, and 3, but albeit the only driver to set a lap on the soft tyres at present.
Yeah, I'm not sure what tyre Safso's on. I believe he's coming around the final corner now in that RB and is actually just starting a lap there. No, he's still on the inters. Sorry, Safso. Maybe there was a little bit of blocking going on. We spoke earlier about how brilliant they'd been as teammates in the first 2 weeks. That may have just fallen apart a little bit there.
I think it could have done. We've seen teams lose and come together over the hills of Austria. And at the moment, Team V-Cub could be in a bit of trouble. I think Coffee and Donuts well and truly going on Alex Gillen's card at the end of this race just to make up to Safso if it was a serious infringement. But Safso's the kind of guy that will let most things slide. Very sound and will just accept an apology and move on. Down in 14th at the moment, only losing out to Super Noodle Bagel. That's a good name to say 3 times quickly in a row. But looking to improve, albeit still on the intermediates.
Yeah, we've obviously got a lot of time because it is an 18-minute session on a very, very short track, the shortest track on the calendar. We should be down in the high 1-minute 3s, I'm imagining, maybe even the mid 1-minute 3s if people are really dialed in with this 0-0 wing setup. Safso getting out of the way of Vince, who is on the soft compound tyres. Is going to be the first of the leading contenders to start a lap on these red stripe tyres. 3 podiums to his name, picked one up last week. We'll be hoping to make that 4 in a few hours' time.
Certainly will do indeed. Potentially even change that 0 to a 1 in a few laps time. Well, 71 laps time to be absolutely specific, and hopefully not increase the DNF count. That guy Vince will be the first driver out on the soft tyres to set a competitive lap time in the last 5 minutes, of course, with the exclusion of F1 Alex. Purple in the first sector for the Aston Martin driver. And they continue to approach as he heads up the hill, now down the hill, towards turn number 4.
Cresting the hill and coming back the way he came, up towards turn number 4. This is quite a difficult corner, it has to be said. If you lock that front right, it can throw you out into the gravel on the left-hand side, but negotiates it very, very nicely indeed. Now pulling gears up towards turn number 6. This is a lovely couple of corners. When you've got the right setup on, it has to be said, maybe going to feel like an understeery boat on 0-0 wings. Not particularly close to the apex either through turn number 7.
Yeah, you might as well take the wings off this car at the moment with the lack of downforce they will be providing. Vince, on the other hand, is driving that Aston Martin absolutely superbly through turn number 10. He will climb and it's up towards the line, up towards the timing beam. Where's he going to go? And it is provisional pole for that guy, Vince. 104.333, making it just under 7 tenths, or just over 7 tenths quicker than F1 Alex's best attempts in the first few minutes of this qualifying session. Lots of other drivers will be following in behind. One of those will be the Williams of Riccio 3. His teammate Hayden von der Gullis, who I've spelled the name of correctly this week. I apologise to any Dutchies out there in our chat as I put Von instead of Van. That was a mispronunciation on my part.
Oh, there's a Red Bull very close to the back there. I wonder if that is potentially Hoodie Peters on a lap. Lolinoba slotting in just behind Dat Guy Vince, with Nogueira jumping up into third. So we're starting to see some of the front runners getting their first times on the board. Super Noodle Bagel, first lap on the soft compound tyres. What are we going to do there? That's not too bad. 105.9, although it is 9 tenths of a second slower than F1 Alex. Gwat's with the team roadie there, trying to get the pain over and done with. Not sure what he's referring to there. Maybe trying to help out his good pal Formula Kareem, potentially.
Potentially so. Maybe he's just not expecting much from this qualifying session, especially with 0-0 wings. A lot of drivers can be, I don't want to say overly anxious as they head into this sort of session, but it's a new experience. It's an unknown philosophy for a lot of them. They won't have had lots of time to practice. They only get the track announcement an hour before, and that is including the wild card being those 0-0 wings. So even if they've hopped on at 5 o'clock UK time, that is the maximum amount of practice they're going to be having at today's racing.
Ooh, looking a little bit unstable into the braking zone there. The Williams of Riccio 3 jumping up into 4th place, 104.6. Remember that we are going to see very, very close times by the end of this session. It's going to be incredibly congested. And the gap between first and fifth, for example, could be just half a tenth of a second. That is how close this field is and how competitive Cray's series is, of course. This hasn't been the cleanest lap, though, it has to be said, from Formula Cream. The gap between himself and Gwatz has extended a little bit, and Gwatz actually a little bit wide of the apex coming through the penultimate corner. So maybe not quite up to speed. Nicer through the final turn of number 10, though, and up to line we go. Cream with a 104.2, Gwatz with a 104.4, 0.2 of a second, separating them with that guy Vince in the middle.
Yeah, we're expecting times to come, well, considerably down over the next few minutes. Yellow flags in the second sector. One of the Mercedes going slowly. That'll be Team Muddock, I think, just moving out of the way of some of his fellow contestants. So good sportsmanship on behalf of Ben Daly. And as you said, expect high 103s for pole positions at the moment. That's what we're being told in my ear just behind the scenes. So maybe another half a second to be found at this Austrian circuit, Tom.
That's quite a lot to try and find, and what I can only imagine is going to be one run between now and the end of the session. Tim at Mark, that lap was a 106.8. Oh no, that was the lap he already had getting out of people's way. GB round the final corner, currently on a 6.2, intermediate pole, already to the name of the green machine, cutting the beam, and it's a 104.0, over 0.2 of a second clear of Formula Cream. Once again, GB looking dialed in early on and putting a marker down.
Beautiful lap from GB. He's got into pole. He wants the traditional pole as well. As we head into Austria, 71 laps, of course. It is all about who starts at the front. 3 DRS zones on this beautiful circuit, and they will have the opportunity to use every single one of them. I don't know how powerful they'll be with the cars on 0-0 wings, but of course that is yet to be decided. Who knows? We might even see some wild weather, maybe some safety cars in this race as well. And of course, hard tyres still off the table for all our drivers.
I think we should change that slightly. We are guaranteed to see safety cars in this race at Austria. Traditionally, we always see a couple of safety cars, and the last time we raced here in season number 7, one of the best finishes we've ever seen in the Create Series. Hayden over line with a 109.7. Very competitive indeed. The second Papaya McLaren goes up into 8th. Make that 9th as Tim at Marduk jumps in between GB and Formula Cream and is provisionally on the front row. We haven't seen a competitive time from Alex Gillen so far, neither Meraki or Razin Chai. But things looking not too bad for the reigning champion in the early stages.
Certainly not indeed. Lots of time still left. 5 minutes on this session. This shows just how often these cars can go out and set runs. There's about, I'm going to say about a third to a quarter of the grid have already done at least 3 laps on 3 different tyres. Into softs and softs. It seems to be the trend across the board at the moment. And we've still got 5 minutes left in the session. I think most drivers could be aiming for potentially 4 laps if they're in and out quick enough, but I think most will be waiting for that track evolution, the rubber to be laid down, as lots of drivers repeatedly go out and send laps in and out, and that's where they'll really start to find the time, especially with the setup differential that is essentially 0 between them all.
100%, yeah. F1 Alex was the driver that was first out in this session on the red stripe soft compound tyre, so we'll see how much the track is improving and how much it's starting to come to the driver of the Kicks tower. And he was up by a tenth of a second through the first sector, despite looking a little bit wobbly, it has to be said, through turn number 1.
Certainly was. He's sometimes a little bit slow to finding his feet, but once he's found his feet, you know for sure he will absolutely send it at every turn. There's a reason this man is the highest scoring driver in the history of the F2. Team Armadic Team Radio, P2, let us cook.
Yes, he's cooking something pretty nice early on, ahead of his main championship rival in Formula Cream, although GB will potentially have something to say about that, considering how he performed in season number 8. And had he competed in all of the races, GB could have been right up there with Ben in the championship. F1 Alex a little bit wide through the final corners. Meraki now takes that front row spot away from the reigning champion. F1 Alex jumps back up into the top 10, 104.5. Very, very close, like we alluded to earlier on.
Yep, lots of work still to do. No one's managed to creep into the 103s quite yet. 26 thousandths of a second is what separates at least one of our drivers from those elusive 103s. I still have hope that someone's going to make it in to that bottom of the grid. Formula Kai coming down towards the line, just followed, I believe, by Hayden von der Gullis up towards the line as well. Formula Kai puts that Sauber up in P6, jumping his teammate as Hayden swoops on past in towards the first corner. I think, was that a good lap from him, or was he just on an out lap there?
It was a good lap from Formula Kai. Got that lovely slipstream out of the final corner from the Williams. Hayden Gullis, 108.6. That's probably fairly competitive for Hayden. 4.6 seconds off the pace. Don't see anything out of the ordinary with that one there. Joking, of course, everybody.
Well, I'll tell you who is on a lap at the moment, both of the V-Cubs, Safso and Alex Gillen. Safso's on his outlap, just heading through the second sector at the moment. You can see him heading through the elongated left-hander on our track map. We'll ride with Alex Gillen, though, on this hot lap, currently down in P15, which would be a really bad starting position for a driver that is incredibly quick on his day, and he'll know he'll deserve to be at least within the top 10.
Yeah, and he's got his ambitions set on the championship, eyeing the prize come the end of season number 9. 1.7 seconds up on his personal best through the first couple of sectors. Not a particularly good indication of where Alex is, considering he's 2.7 seconds off the pole time at the moment, attacking these final couple of corners, really riding the curb on the inside of turn number 9, and then pulling gears out of turn number 10. How close can Gillen get to the pole time? Set by GB, it's only 5th place. He's under 3/10 down, but he is behind Meraki, Tim Marduk, and Formula Kareem as well.
Might only be 5th place, but it was a purple middle sector. Razin Chai on a second outlap by the looks of things, coming up towards the line, so will have another opportunity to go again. His teammate Safso coming through the second sector as well. He's 2.3 tenths up on his previous best attempt. Everybody, or at least majority of drivers, out on track at the moment. Both Saubers deciding to wait a little bit longer, but they don't want to leave it too long.
Just dipping a wheel in the gravel there, Saf, so that is not going to help his cause at all. 2 seconds up on his personal best. Remember that he's 4.4 seconds off the pole time, everybody, and ignore the purple sector indicator on the track map, because we've learned that that is a complete lie.
I tell you, Formula Kai retires in the pit lane, deciding he can't go quicker. Safso up to P13. I tell you who does have a purple first sector, according to the game. Completely ignore me. It was showing as Lolly Nova. That was set last time around, up towards the line. He's not improving through that second sector. Keep an eye on Timo Marduk just starting his final run. GB Meraki will be looking to defend the front row of this grid, as we're being told by chat as well. Truth Raven coming in saying Meraki holds the record for the longest stint on softs in Creed Series history. He did 36 laps at Austria last season.
That is an incredible stat. Thank you for delivering that to us, Truth Raven. Delighted with that.
I think we're going to see more antics like that this week.
Potentially. The strategical game is going to be huge, and Tim McMahon's getting a lovely slipstream here. They're getting held up slightly in the braking zone. Not sure who it is. It's definitely a Ferrari. Potentially Infratic. No, he's just gone over the line into 13th, so it's got to be Nagera, who's currently 10th. Yep,
certainly will be indeed. Up towards the line, Lolly Nova can't improve. Has to go again if he's got the battery to be able to do so. Hayden von der Gullis, I think, will be behind them. No, it was his teammate Riccio 3 just starting out. Times now will be locked in. Datko Vince didn't make it to the line by the looks of it. He did, up to P6. For the Aston Martin driver, Timo Marduk coming up towards the line. He's invalidated. Can't go quicker. Noguera will go P8 as he comes across the line. Williams behind him. Who's gone off into the grass and the gravel? That'll be Hayden von der Gullis. Mercedes, McLaren, my apologies. Coming around the final corner. Formula Karim with a massive snap of oversteer. He'll come across the line. Can't improve this time around. The battle now stands between GB68 and Meraki. GB cannot improve. It's all on Meraki here as Alex Gillen can't go faster either.
Yeah, Gillen making the most of everybody else making mistakes on their final runs. Razin Chai doing the same, jumping up into 4th place, just 3 milliseconds slower than Alex Gillen. Meraki was down in the first couple of sectors, really aggressive over the curbs into turn number 10. Can he steal pole away from GB? No, he cannot. He's 0.4 of a second down. It is going Aston Martin's way. It wasn't the buzzer beater from Meraki right at the end of the session. Another driver in the gravel. I'm not sure who that was, but it is GB on pole, Meraki second, and we've got all of the big names right at the sharp end. And the likes of Tim Marduk, do you think he'll be satisfied with 5th place, considering he's on that new equipment?
I think he'll be happy. It's new equipment. Sometimes it is one just to throw you off, and, you know, sometimes you got to feel yourself in to your new system. So P5 in itself isn't a bad position to be starting. You've got to bear in mind, you've got Alex Gillen starting essentially one row of the grid ahead of you. He'll be right in front. He'll be looking at that V-Cub's rear wing in towards turn number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe some antics into there. Razin Chai, Alex Gillen, Tim Marduk. Those three. Turn 1, I think we've heard this one before.
100%. And don't discount Formula Kareem as well, because he certainly doesn't usually have a 4-leaf clover in his back pocket. A couple of notable drivers that may be a little bit disappointed further down. Nagera outside of the top 10. Lolinoba, I think, was 12th as well. Those are two drivers that have been very quick in the first and second races, respectively. So maybe a little bit disappointed with where they've ended up. Good performances as well, though, from Formula Kai in 10th position. Nagera actually just inside the top 10 in 9th. And Gwartz as well returning to start from 11th.
Certainly is indeed. We'll run through your complete qualifying order then here this afternoon. GB and Meraki will share the front row amongst themselves. Alex Gillen and Razin Chai line up on row 2. Timo Marduk and Formula Karim on row 3. That guy Vince, Ricky 03, Noguera and Formula Kai rounding out your top 10. Good qualifying for the Kick Sauber driver this afternoon. Gwatz in his debut race this afternoon starts 11th with Lonnie Noba, F1 Alex TTV in Fratic, Safso, Nick Flies, Hoodie Pedro, Adam Sanderson, Super Noodle Bagel and Hayden von der Gullis rounding out your complete 20 here this afternoon. Well, I think in Fratic's got to be a driver we've got to talk about. Surely he won't want to be starting that far down the order.
No, he'll be another driver that's going to be left a little bit wanting, I would imagine. I'm not sure what went wrong, because I think Austria traditionally is a track that Fabio has done quite well at. Qualified inside the top 10 last time we were here in season number 7. Didn't quite go his way in the race, but yeah, going to be left with a few questions, I would imagine.
I think he certainly will be. Let's bring Carl in just for a quick moment while our drivers get themselves set up and ready. Carl, what have you been watching during that qualifying session? Have you seen anything that's been going on behind the scenes?
Well, I have actually. Funny you should mention that here in Clipbook Corner. Clipbook Carl's been hard at work. There's a couple of things. First of all, track limits. It caught a lot of people out in that session, and I mean a lot of people. Particularly Adam Sanderson, who I did get a lot of clips of you invalidating the final turn. I do apologise. But I also have things like the Alex Gillen Safso incident, which was all a little bit confusing. So this is the incident in question. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this, just so we can analyse it in full. So, coming up to turn number 3, Safso's light is flashing at this point. Let's bear that in mind here. So, Alex here is thinking his teammate, at this point, is saving battery, possibly on an outlap, isn't really going to get in his way. So, he dives down the inside, but Safso at this point also using all of the track. It's not like he's gone off the track to completely remove himself from his teammate's situation. He's just poised to take the line into turn number 3. So as you can see, there's this almighty, colossal conundrum as, well, Safso tries to find the apex and Alex Gillen comes blazing down the inside. Let's bear in mind, he obviously thinks, because the light's flashing, that Safso is on an outlap. Not the case, though. As they come down the straight, still side by side, are the two V-carb cars, possibly honing their racecraft skills in before the actual main event on 0-0 wings. Could be a crucial piece of cunning between the two drivers. But anyway, still side by side here as they come out of the corner. Eventually, Alex Gillen manages to have the ascendancy out on the track. But equally, not really what you want to have between two teammates before the start of the race event. Also, questions possibly about what happened on Tiamat Marduk's lap. He simply got too close to Noguera. As soon as you get slightly too close, the dirty air really begins to kick in. There's not enough grip on the front, and that just compromised the rest of his lap. Was almost 2 tenths up on that final lap, but just not to be in that case.
Well, thank you, Carl. Much appreciated looking behind the scenes on all of our drivers at the moment. I'm sure we'll be coming to you during the race as well, but we're going to switch back over to the Austrian hills where the formation lap is about, or has just got underway. Let's go back over to the hills of Austria.
And they're alive with the sound of horsepower, aren't they?
Pardon?
They're alive with the sound of horsepower.
Certainly are indeed. Quick story to bring you just whilst we're going through. As we see, I think that's that guy Vince trying to send a dive on Meraki, failing miserably and getting reset to the grid along with his teammate GB68, who got reset to the grid before they even got going. Nick Flies as well went off on a travel through the dust and the gravel up at turn number 3, and that's why he's been reset all the way back to the grid. I've got questions about who's leading this pack at the moment. That is going to be Alex Gillen, who's decided he just wants to get on with things here, Tom.
Wants to keep out of everybody's way. Remember last week in Monza, Formula Cream, slamming into the back of him, coming up towards what was the Parabolica, is now the Curva Alboreto, and now lining up very interestingly on the grid. I'd be amazed if this works, I have to be honest. I'd be questioning what the FIA are doing. If they allow Gillen to start in this position, might be slightly detrimental to Tiamat Marduk. Maybe he's just trying to really lock in on his target. No, he does get moved back, which he's going to be disappointed about, because it means that he can't renew spoils with his sparring partner Tiamat Marduk right away. Can't slam straight into the front of that Mercedes.
I can guarantee, if anything, though, that camera from Alex Gillen will be pointing backwards for a considerable amount of this race start. Hayden van der Gullis still yet to take turns 9 and 10 here on the formation lap, just getting some nice heat in towards the tyres. I wonder if we've got helmet cam on for a second week in a row. I highly doubt it, as I was talking to him at the end of the week last time, and he was saying it was very sweaty under that hood, and it decided it was a bad idea to try and run it. Let's see what he's doing. Nope, he's just enjoying himself out the back of the grid, getting some heat into those Williams tyres as everybody else, all other 19 cars, will wait amongst our grid at the moment. We're watching from our hotel room here, Tom. We don't get to see from turn number 1. And let's see how our drivers go. I'm sure lights are being lit. We're right on board. 5 lights are indeed lit. And the lights go out, and we go racing in Austria. GB and Meraki with a good pull away towards turn number 1. Everybody going 2 by 2. So far, Alex Gillen and Team Armada getting nice and calmly through the first corner. Everybody settling their differences. All 20 remain in the train at present. Formula Karim, who's had such bad luck in the opening few weeks of this season, so far getting caught in amongst the train. Alex Gillen, that was, trying to send a move down the inside of Meraki, having to wait patiently as Timo Mardik once again goes down the inside of Razinchai, this time around getting successfully past the Alpine car. Everybody still progressing as that guy Vince thinks about an opportunistic move down the inside of Formula Karim. Will have to wait his turn though as everybody starts to progress into Sector 2.
Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest start for Karim. Tapped the back of the Alpine of Razin a couple of times. Once into turn number 1 and then up the hill into turn number 3 as well. Side-by-side action between Hayden van der Gullis and Adam Sanson. It's the Williams that comes out on top. We're no longer calling him Hollywood Hayden Gullis, but that was a blockbuster move.
Certainly was indeed. Race lead still with GB68. Meraki settling for the bridesmaids position at the moment. Alex Gillen still in P3. Fastest lap goes to the Aston Martin team as they run up towards turn number 1. No moves made at present. Look at that further back though. That's Formula Karim. I think it was Nick Fly's thinking about a move in towards turn number 1. Adam Sanson besting out Hayden van der Gullis in towards the first corner further back, and Formula Karim now getting a good run on Razin Chai. Maybe looks for a move up in towards turn number 3, sends it down the inside. He's licked the stamp, he sends it, and that postcard's been delivered. Razin Chai sent away on holiday.
That's going to be an important move for Karim if he wants to try and challenge towards the sharp end. Right at the front as Meraki's up the inside of GB though, in the battle for the lead down into turn number 4. Can't quite force that ripple far enough alongside. GB's got the grip and the confidence on the exit and holds firm in the lead of this race for the time being. Alex Gillen, you can see him just lurking underneath the rear wing of the sister car. Red Bull versus RB could be a spicy little battle, considering Tim at Marlock is following in the footsteps of Gillen as well.
He's lurking like a shark in the Australian waters. He's being patient. He knows his prey. He knows his target that stands in front of him. He can wait as long as he wants to here, because there are still 69, make that 68 laps of this Grand Prix to go. Fastest lap being shared amongst the first 5 drivers that come across the timing beam. GB, Meraki, Gillen, Daly and Karim as they all progress one by one. Alex Gillen has a good run on Meraki up the hill here, surely through the kink of turn number 2. He'll have the outside line. He's being forced there by the newly baptised Red Bull driver. He'll try and swing around the outside, but the traction surely still stands with Meraki as he crouches his way down towards turn number 4. Could he go for a double overtake here? Gillen goes round the outside of GB, swoops round into place number 1, but GB says no, he's going to defend like his life depends on it. They're side by side into turn number 5, and GB says thank you very much, I'll take that place back.
Well, Alex got the first place that he had his designs on, but couldn't quite force his way into the lead of the Grand Prix. Formula Cream pushing Tim at Marlick back down into 5th place where he started. We also had a bit of a kerfuffle into turn number 1. Infratic and F1 Alex coming to blows. They've been detached at the back of the pack.
That is unfortunate for Infratic, of course, starting lower down in the grid than he would have liked to come the poor qualifying session, only to get knocked down a peg or 2 further with that instant with F1 Alex. They find themselves in 19th and 20th respectively. GB still in the lead of this race, but without DRS could be a rather sitting duck on these long straights. The 0-0 wings will be helping them out, but for how long is going to be the question. Alex Gillen looks in his mirrors. He can see Meraki further back. Formula Karim thinking about a move down the inside of Timo Mardik, once again getting cut up amongst the inside. Loses a place to that guy Vince, but the battle relooks to the front as Alex Gillen thinks about a move on GB. Has to defend from Meraki. Meraki looked to the outside line, and Gillen slams the door in his face.
This is going to be such an interesting race, especially if we see a big DRS train that has already been disconnected between 10th and 11th places. This is going to turn into a battery race. They're going to be looking after the battery so much because, remember, they don't really have a significant advantage setup-wise in the straight line speed department.
They certainly don't indeed. Timo Marduk now less than a tenth to the rear of Meraki as he heads in towards the final couple of corners. The question will be on tyres and how long they're able to make them last. We've been told that Meraki is the tyre whisperer, but Timo Marduk doesn't care much about that. He'll be sending it down the inside if he feels like an opportunity opens its doors. And we're being patient now as we enter lap 5 of 71. Nobody playing too alternate a strategy. Deco Vince going slightly wide out of the first corner. Maybe a kick of understeer, just forcing him to try and recover the car. That could allow Formula Karim to look round the outside line here. Soft versus medium on the tyres. And I think the soft tyres are going to pay dividends on the run up towards turn number 4. They do indeed as Karim gets past Vince.
Does have the traction on the exit and reclaims that 5th position that he lost on the previous lap at that very corner. Razin Chai down in 7th place. Hasn't been the best of starts for the Alpine driver, the Season 5 champion. The reigning champion, Tim McMahon, a little bit wide there through turn number 4 as well, but matters not as he continues on in position number 4. And we see some more jostling for position. Lolinoba down in 14th. Must have had a little bit of a whoopsie around there somewhere. We've got a nice little quartet squabbling just outside the top 10 here of Gwatz, Nick Flies, Safso, and said Lolinoba.
Certainly have indeed. It's fantastic to see everybody battling it out, even if they're not in the optimal positions at the moment. As we said, all it takes is one safety car to bring us into this situation. Quick look on the tyres. Of course, hard tyres still remaining banned in the F1 Craze Series until we see a wildcard that dictates otherwise. It's about a 50-50 split between the softs and the mediums, our front 5. All starting on the softer red compound as Infratic's already into the pit lane here.
Maybe picked up some damage then in that first corner collision between himself and F1 Alex and the Scarlet Red Ferrari car. You can imagine is going to get rid of those red striped soft compound tyres. What's going on? I believe they're mediums. I think I can just about see the yellow stripe on them. Does get that front wing changed. I think something's happened to Adam Sanderson as well because he's dropped down into 18th position. More jostling for position going on. Formula Kareem trying to get 4th place. Back from Tim Marduk making up for lost time earlier on in the race. And on lap number 6 is back into 4th.
Certainly is indeed, as you said, fresh wing going on the car of Infratic, although with 0-0 wings, I can't imagine it would make too much of a difference. Lap 6 of 71, Timo Marduk drops down to P5. Gillen still finds himself in P2, but I think the gap between himself and GB868 ever increasing. A little bit of snap of oversteer and understeer for a few of our drivers through the penultimate corner of this lap, but they're all rather standing on ceremony. The train has left the station, and we're not expecting it to stop for another 60 or so laps.
100%. 10 carriages currently on the train. I wonder if anybody will be disembarking. I think GB's the first one that wants to do so out in front. That gap hasn't quite made its way over 1 second. It's been hovering around 8 or 9 tenths. Tim McMahon could be losing another place down into turn number 3 because the second Aston Martin, GB, up the inside, taps the Mercedes, almost tapping the McLaren as well, and they're going to continue to duel on the exit. Back down the hill we go, but it's Tim McMahon, the reigning champion, that just about holds on, staunchly defending his 5th position.
Yep, half a second later on the brakes, and Vince would have been going into the side pod of Timo Marduk there. Naguera getting past Riccio 3 for P8 on track. The lead Williams at present, of course, his teammate a whole 9 positions down. Team radio coming across on Formula Korean praising GB on how quick his pace is looking, and at the moment, this pack is starting to reel him in. The yellow flag further back. Is that F1 Alex that's gone off? It is, and Adam Sanderson.
Yes, not good news at all for the second Mercedes car. I tell you what, it was very, very congested coming out of turn number 8. I wonder if Alex Gillen might be playing a few games in the middle sector with his battery, really trying to recharge hard. So he's got the battery to either defend or attack down the 3 long straights that we've got here at the Red Bull Ring circuit. Meraki was under pressure from Formula Cream coming out of turn number 8 and down into turn number 1 as well, but holding firm in 3rd.
Yeah, the train's starting to split ever so slightly, but those buckles just holding them together. Gillen thought about a move down the inside there. He's going to play the patient game, as you said. He's holding Meraki behind. Nothing Meraki can do. They share quite literally the same track, both physically and metaphorically. Meraki looks right. He looks left. He's going to go later on the brakes, but surely not round the turn number 4. He thought about it. The opportunity might have presented itself. The switchback could be on for Meraki. He looks to the outside, but I think he's just reminding Gillen that he is in his mirrors. He is still there, and to watch out because the Red Bull is maybe trying to get a move on.
Defensive shake thrown a couple of times. We could see the red ERS light there at the back of the RB car, which does tell us that Gillen in particular is recharging through this middle sector. That might be telling us why it's getting so congested as everyone gets bolted up behind the Season 2 champion. Formula Cream definitely tapped the back of Meraki there into the penultimate corner, and a little bit of a slide coming out of turn number 10 as well. This could start to get a little bit messy in this trailer.
I think it certainly will do. I think Alex Gillen is playing the ultimate conductor role. He's allowing GB to storm on ahead, use up his battery, punch through the air in front of him, and all he has to do is sit back, relax, and maybe check a few tickets as Meraki thinks about an opportunity into turn 3 once again. It's the conductor of Alex Gillen says no. He's staying within a second gap of GB in front of him. The steam train pushes on, but Gillen will just sit there. He can stay within a second, allow for the DRS. And he's going to be patient for that move to come. He's charging the battery, as you previously said. And when he strikes, you are going to hear about it. Meraki still reminding the VCARB, the sister team, that he's in his mirrors. And at the moment, everybody wants to get past the conductor.
Yes, most certainly looming very large in the rearview mirrors of Mr. Alex Gillen, almost running into the back of him there through turn number 7. The ERS light has been switched off, so now he's not recharging. You could just see a flash of Papaya in that right mirror there of Formula Cream. Thinking about a move, he's under pressure though, because up the inside we go into the penultimate corner. Cream falls off the circuit. That's a couple of places lost now. Team at Marlett forcing the issue, and Formula Cream, Super Cream, is now down into 7th place as Razin Chai says thank you very much.
Nogueira might do the same in towards turn number 1. The Ferrari looks for the late break into the inside line. The medium tyres starting to fire up for the first time in this Grand Prix, but Formula Cream says no. Formula Kai, on the other hand, might try and swing on around the outside of the abandoned Nogueira. Couldn't go anywhere as he dives into turn number 3. The kick Sauber tries to swing one round the outside of the Scuderia Ferrari, and surely he's got the position now with the DRS assistance, but back up in the lead of the race. Meraki has maybe pipped an opportunity round the outside of Alex Gillen. He will go, and Alex Gillen, little bit of a slide. The rear tyres not locking as much as he would have liked. Meraki has got past the conductor. He's now on the rear of GB.
And I don't know if you noticed it was synchronised sliding between Alex Gillen and Tim McMahon coming out of turn number 4, and he's under enormous pressure from the second Aston Martin of Vince, who gets all squirmy over the curb coming out of turn number 8. Drivers making mistakes here. It's the first time in the Create Series this season that Formula Cream has gotten rid of that bulletproof look that he's had so far. Starting to look a little bit vulnerable in this train. Maybe those soft tyres just starting to struggle on the Papaya car.
Maybe a few drivers as well just appreciating that uncertainty could be Kareem's downfall, because it's the first time we've seen a set-up wildcard come into play this season. Probably not the last time we're seeing one. As the first penalty of the afternoon goes the way of F1 Alex TTV as Gillen looks for a move down the inside of the sister car. But again, just reminding Meraki that he's in his mirrors. There's been happening something further back. Razin Chai goes round. He gets caught from behind. Formula Kai getting involved as well. And there's definitely damage for one of the cars. Who was the culprit there? And I think Timo Marduk, who's potentially losing some damage. No, is it Nogueira that's got wing damage? I'd assume so, with how far back he's dropped. Something went wrong in towards turn number 4.
And Formula Cream's going to get caught short by this because Nogueira's dropped out of the DRS range. Formula Cream is bottled up behind the Scarlet Red Ferrari car. And now this group of cars that was 10 strong at the very start of this race is now just a quintet battling over the lead of this race. And Nogueira and Formula Cream are now going to lead what is effectively a chasing peloton. No damage for the Ferrari, neither for the McLaren, but they have got work to do. And I think it is Formula Kai that picked up that damage in contact between himself and Razin Chai.
Yep, certainly is. In towards the pit lane does go the kick Sauber. The 10-car train has been reduced due to staff shortages down to 5. And Datko Vince senses an opportunity to get past Timo Marduk in towards turn number 3. Swoops around the outside of the Australian. Pretty much lets him have it. I haven't seen a move made that easy for a long while indeed. Something is going on with Timo Marduk as we see loads of drivers getting past Formula Kai in that pit lane.
Yeah, I think what we can expect from Tim McMahon is potentially a lack of consistency. This could be the lead changing hands for the first time this race, though. Meraki trying to push GB right over to the edge of the circuit to get the lead of this race. Alex Gillen potentially sniffing an opportunity underneath the rear wing of both of them. But it is Meraki and Red Bull leading the way for the first time here in Austria. GB dropping down into second place.
Certainly does indeed. Ben, no damage, have managed to avoid the carnage and the chaos that we saw just a few moments ago at turn number 4, just 1 lap ago. That's incredibly quick how 1 lap passes here in Austria. GB right on the rear already of Meraki, who's charging some of his battery in the final few corners. You can see GB fully charged at 100% and surely will like to retake this race lead in towards turn number 1. Alex Gillen thinking about a move down the inside. We've seen this one happen before where he thinks about a cheeky move down the inside. DRS open for the front 5. Karim and Naguera not too far back. They might want to come and join the party at some point. 3 wide, surely not in towards turn number 3. Gillen gets past, GB gets past. Meraki might have to settle for 3rd on the grid at the moment, but Gillen with an amazing double overtake retakes the race lead, or takes away the race lead, but it's not over and done with yet. Meraki thinks he has an opportunity in towards turn number 4. Both of them going late on the brakes here, swinging one round the outside line. Gillen surviving by the barest of margins at the moment, retakes the race lead. Alex Gillen, P1.
And the Aston Martin swapping places in all of that as well. That guy Vince probably looks like the fastest driver out of all of this leading group of 5 at the moment. Those medium tyres really working nicely. Meraki was slightly wide through turn number 8. That guy Vince not close enough to think about an audacious lunge up the inside to the penultimate corner, but Meraki was almost thinking about doing the same to Alex Gillen, who definitely had that battery switched off on the run up into turn number 9. Another yellow flag. I think that might be F1 Alex again going for a little bit of a whoopsie somewhere. You do not want to be sending up the inside into turn number 1. That is going to be a bit of a death wish for somebody, and thankfully nobody doing it.
Yeah, tyres will really start to come into their own this afternoon as well. The only driver in the top 5 on the medium still stands as that guy Vince. He'll have the opportunity to go slightly later and longer. Who's going to make a move in towards turn number 3, though? Vince thinks about a move on Meraki down the inside line. The medium tyres starting to fire up. Von der Gullis gets a penalty, 10 seconds worth for speeding in the pit lane, all the way down in P17, so not too fortunate for the Williams team. Meraki, on the other hand, defending like a lion from that guy Vince, who tries a move down the inside of turn number 4. The lean green Aston Martin machine tries to get up into P2, fails at the first time of asking, but I have a feeling this will not be the first attempt, this will not be the last attempt that guy Vince sends on the Red Bull in front.
Well, I wonder if we're going to see the 2 green machines starting to do a little bit of tag teaming on the drivers around them. Vince is moving over to the middle of the track. Was he thinking about a move up the inside into the penultimate corner? I did not expect this to be an overtaking position that we'd be talking about to great lengths in this race, but in the first 14 laps we've seen a couple, maybe 3 or 4 overtakes into the penultimate corner, which is certainly more than I was expecting.
Certainly incredible to see how close this racing has been in the opening 15 laps. And we are going to head over to Carlin Clipper Corner in just a couple of moments' time. He's got information for us on what happened with Razin. Where did that Alpine go wrong in towards turn number 4? But here we go, 2-3 wide in towards turn number 3. There's no love lost between any of our drivers at the moment. Meraki's still holding on for dear life in P3. Sapso in towards the pit lane further back. Let's go over to Carlin Clipper Corner, who can tell us a little bit more about what happened with Razin Chai and the Alpine.
I'm surprised you've got time for me, to be honest with you, with the amount of Austrian action that's currently deploying itself, but I'll be as quick as I can, and then you can get back to that insane lead battle that is transpiring at the moment. So, turn number 3 has been a bit of a problem child for quite a lot of people this race. In Fratic, that's where he lost his front wing, hence why he had to pit early. Razin just minding his own business, breaks for the corner, sending down the inside though, and with absolute nowhere to go. He was a complete passenger and innocent bystander in that incident. But like I say, turn number 3 has caused conundrums so far this race. We've seen the ridiculous, but we've seen the rapturous as well. And I'm sure we'll continue to see it as we go along.
Certainly will do indeed. Thank you, Carl, for your insight as always. Much appreciated. We join back to the action as we see a change for the race lead happening. Datko Vince getting the best of Alex Gillen here. Are the medium tyres starting to come strong here, Tom? As Timo Mardik sends one from absolutely nowhere down the inside of the Red Bull of Meraki, catches Meraki napping, and this could be an opportunity for Timo Mardik to change what has been a poor race by his standards so far up to P3. This could be a podium, but we're only in early stages.
Yeah, Ben so far in this race has been happy just to let it pass him by, but not anymore. Sending it, launching it up the inside of Meraki to try and get that 3rd place and potentially now try and attack his old foe, his old mate Alex Gillen. This could be fireworks, everybody. Do not go and get any tea, any water, any biscuits or anything, because it's Alex Gillen versus Tim Mardik on our screens at the moment.
Certainly is indeed. Nogueira thought about a move on Meraki there, but you could hear the gear change from that Ferrari just hampered his straight line speed. Tim and Mardik over the team radio. Come on now. Persistence pays off. That it does. The driver from down under up in P3. He's only got Alex Gillen and that guy Vince that stands in front of him. I say only Alex Gillen, but we saw what happened when they came together last time around in Monza.
Yeah, thankfully no corners named Ascari at the Red Bull Ring. Meraki under pressure again. These medium tyres, certainly the ones you want to be on. Nogueira's very late on the brakes. Is he going to slam into the Mercedes? They do bang wheels, and is the Ferrari going to force the issue up the inside into turn number 3? Does have the traction on the exit. The soft tyres starting to wane a little bit. Tim and Mardik, as ever, is going to fight this on the exit. Down the hill we go, darting into turn number 4. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? This time it's Tim and Mardik turning in slightly on the Ferrari. Little bit of contact, bit of a wobble as well. They've lost the DRS to the duo in front. Got to bear that in mind. The gap's over a second. Tim and Mardik holds on, and now they've got to catch up to the duo in front of them again, because if they lose the DRS, which at the moment they're going to, that could be curtains for a little while.
Certainly would be curtains. The train continuing to fall apart as we head over these raggedy tracks that we see here in Austria. Tim and Mardik 1.3 at a disadvantage to Alex Gillen in front. They've left the duo to contend the race lead amongst themselves. Lap 17 of 71. Flip that around. We're not far away from halfway in this race. 18 of 71 we go. Karim's in towards the pit lane. Nogueira still putting pressure on the man from down under. Ferrari versus Mercedes versus Aston Martin and Red Bull as the four-way fight behind starts to increase. Nogueira sends one down the inside of the Mercedes. GB could think about an opportunity to send one as well. He's later on the brakes. He's eager, but he's happy just to wait behind. Meraki may not be so patient though. He's got a better drive out of turn number 3 on the run down to the 4th corner. Is he going to think about a move to GB? He looked inside. He looked outside. He's had the door well and truly slammed on him in both regards.
I thought I saw a little bit of front wing just flying up from one of the cars, but I don't believe it was. We're going to continue as we were. 1.4, nearly 1.5, now 1.3 seconds between Gillen in second and Nogueira in third. Formula Karim has jumped into the pits, getting back past his teammate Nick Flies. Maybe a little bit of papaya teamwork going on there. So Karim's throwing the hammer down, going for the undercut strategy. We'll see if anybody reacts to it. At the moment, doesn't look like anybody else is diving in. Meraki is going in though, and everybody else in front of him at least has stayed out.
Certainly does indeed. Meraki peeling off not only hampers Nogueira and Tim and Mardik more, not the opportunity to try and get through. You can see the tyres up on the screen at the moment. Obviously hard tyres still banned in the F1 Creator Series, so everybody choosing either the mediums or the softs. Razin Chai joins Meraki in towards the pit lane after his earlier contact dropped him considerably down the order. He's got a recovery drive if he wishes to do so. Everybody coming past the pit lane as you see the positions continue to shuffle on the timing tower on the left hand side. Gillen with the DRS on Vince, Tim and Mardik with the DRS on Nogueira, GB as well following them all through in towards the 4th corner. Ricky gets past Gwatz further back, as in Williams just changing the position for 6th place rather, and the Alpine, the reservist that has stepped in, just giving the Williams a little love tap there.
But look further down, Formula Cream's undercut has worked out absolutely perfectly, because I think he's nearly 4 seconds clear of Meraki. Look at this, 3 wide just behind the McLaren. Up the inside goes Safso. That's a double overtake, but can he keep the car on the circuit? Is Formula Kai going to try and retaliate on the exit? Meraki on those brand new tyres makes mincemeat of Lolanoba, who was wide at the exit. It's Safso from Kai, Meraki and Lolanoba. This is not good news for the Red Bull of Meraki, the Season 4 champ. Stuck in a lot of traffic here with Formula Cream now 4.5 seconds up the road. That undercut, expertly thrown from the Papaya car.
I think everyone in front is going to be in danger now of that undercut working so well. They'll be questioning their own strategy. I mean, the soft runners that are still out, of course, Gillen and Tim Mardik, as Tim Mardik gets past Nogueira on the medium tyres, so still deciding to work up a sweat. Gwatz getting past Riccio 3 once again in towards the 3rd corner. But as you said, it's going to be interesting to see how long those tyres last and whether the early pit stop from Formula Karim does take into account if anyone's going to alter their strategy here. 2 warnings for not only that guy Vince, but Karim as well, we're being told.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught it there, TK, but a little bit of contact between Ricky and not Gwatz. I think it may have been a little bit of net code involved, because it did not look like the Alpine ran into the Williams car. There was a big gap between them, but it did send Gwatz sideways, and he lost a little bit of time there. They're 2.5 seconds off the back of this trio who are fighting over 3rd, 4th and 5th, Tim Mardik, Nogueira and GB, and then a big gaggle of cars in the middle. It's still Meraki just bogged down in this massive group of cars. Formula Kai, Safso, Lolanoba, Razin Chai has cruised up to the back of them as well. This is not good for 2 of the perennial contenders to the throne of this race.
Yeah, Meraki pitting at the wrong time here. Nogueira almost into the rear of Team Mardik there as they entered into turn number 1. The Spaniards will now pass. Sorry, the Portuguese man will now pass. Please don't hate me in the chat for that. The Portuguese man will now pass. Karim on the radio. I saw Nogueira lose DRS and I was like, it's time. Fantastic decision from Formula Karim to head into the pits when he did, as you said. Has gapped the field behind by about 5 seconds. He has the advantage to the drivers that pitted earlier. Meraki in amongst those ranks, and now Nogueira up to P3. Team Mardik will have to hold off GV68, but of course both of those drivers, the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, including Alex Gillen, who's still in second, on the softer tyre.
Well, Jake has finally managed to worm his way out of that gaggle of cars, but he's 5 seconds off the back of Karim. Still getting stuck in is the Red Bull and the Kick Sauber of F1 Alex and Hoodie Pedro down in 14th and 15th position with the Haas of Super Noodle Bagel very close behind them as well. This is going to continue downhill. Lovely little scrap between these two. Hopefully it remains clean and tidy. Was there contact there? No, I don't think there was. Respectful enough racing. I think the Kick Sauber is going to win that, and the Line Green car beating out the Red Bull. Interesting line there from Hoodie Pete. Potentially think about a lunge up the inside, but he...
We're here on this Grand Prix. Vince and Alex Gillen still battling out for the lead of the Grand Prix. And the question's going to be here, Tom, who's going to have the almighty overall arching effect? Is it going to be Gillen or is it going to be Vince?
Well, you'd think Vince is starting to come into his own, being on those medium tyres that you would imagine are going to be quicker at this stage. The softs surely going to start dying very quickly. We're still tracking the progress as well as Formula Karim, who is absolutely flying. And we'll see how far out ahead he is when those guys jump into the pits.
It's one thing after another this afternoon. OBS just crashes, and then my game crashes. Something really doesn't like me this afternoon. I apologise, everybody at home. You are still watching the F1 Creator Series.
Hello.
Let's bring Carl in as well. We'll have a quick chat, because Carl could probably give us the best idea of what's going on behind the scenes at this current moment in time, whilst everything decides to have a bit of a mare.
Right, hello everyone. How's it going? All you really need to know is that, well, it was this battle here, essentially, that caused all the conundrums, essentially, between Team Mardik and Nogueira. So, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, as we go on a little bit towards turn number 3, we're really racking back the clock on this one. But as you can see, we've got a red arrow here. Originally, Nogueira and Meraki were fighting side by side, but then absolutely sailing down the inside, Nogueira, just too late on the brakes, completely overcooks it into the side of the Mercedes man, and as a result, that snowballs into DRS not being a thing anymore, which is extremely unfortunate for those guys, and they haven't really stopped squabbling since. So, it is all systems go for the front two so far, which is the main thing. They're all having a fantastic time. They're just piggybacking off one another, but behind, it's all getting a little bit scrappy. Also, elsewhere as well, if I go here, I apologise, this is going to be a fun one for you. Let's rack the clock back even further. Lap number 13, Alex Gillen, GB and Meraki. As you can see here, well, firstly, it's Gillen sending it around the outside of Meraki. Decides, you know what? I'm not happy being the filling in this sandwich. Sends it straight through the middle. Just about gets it stopped in time, squirreling away on the rear brakes, but manages to get the power down pretty well at that. Cuts off GB's line, obviously, but Meraki does manage to plant the power, but it's not enough. Even with DRS, Alex Gillen deploying every single morsel of electrical energy in order to hold position, just about does it, and as they come through the right-hander, that's part of the reason why he's out of the front of this race. Keep an eye on track limits, ladies and gentlemen. That is all I'll say going forwards, as we've got the word that we are all good and we are back. All systems are go. Watch out for track limits, though. Quite a few drivers flirting with Lady Luck in terms of the white lines. Kareem's on 2 warnings, and a bunch of others are as well. So, Kareem might have the ascendancy on the undercut, but keep an eye out.
Certainly will do indeed. Thank you, folks, for your patience back at home. I appreciate not everything can always go smoothly on this broadcast. We had to have 1 week where things went awry. Let's just give you an update on what you would have missed whilst everything was being sorted out in the background. Infratic retires in the pit lane. I believe no penalties to his name, just decided to call it quits after driving into the pits themselves. Lots of other drivers have gone in towards the pits themselves. Quick reminder of who has done so on the screen at present. Everyone but our top, top 4 in the pits at the moment. Everything else has remained the same. Not Quartz just diving into pit lane there. Everything still the same. My name's Tom Knight, alongside me, Tom Wilkinson.
Still Tom squared on your screens, everybody. Lap 26. Just want to talk about that undercut from Formula Cream. He is third. His next nearest competitor is Meraki, who is over 6 seconds off the back of that Papaya McLaren car. Razin and Safso are in there as well. And then there's another gap back to the likes of Alex Gillen. Then a further 2.5 seconds to GB and Tim Marduk. This has worked out perfectly thus far for Formula Cream as he tries to get the lead of the championship come the end of this 71-lap race.
Certainly will do indeed. We're being told 7 drivers have